Hello. So, after a very bitty day yesterday, I'm left with my picture like this. So the likeness is almost there. When you sort of fiddle with corrections, you quite often things come out of kilter. So I need to just very slightly sort out the alignments and make sure, kind of eyes, nose, mouth are parallel. However, painting in bad light again, I've gone in fact quite true to the photo. This is very, very grey, but I don't want it to look that grey. So old master techniques, they use what's called a grisaille, as in, kind of like a grey monochrome underpainting, as a deliberate basis for glazing. And when you glaze, you add transparent colour. So I've got some transparent colours on here ready. Here's a couple of examples. They're really handy, and you basically just make a really thin coat over the top. So the paint underneath needs to be dry, and because I used liquid in it last night, it is dry, and I haven't used titanium white either. That dries very slowly. So this is solid touch dry. So here's a couple of colours I'll be using. This is quinacridone red. And this is one which it took me ages to find, transparent gold ochre. I wanted something that would just kind of like yellow things up. And you can see on the back, there's usually a sign. This one, I think it's semi-transparent, is that little square. And for transparent colours, it's just open like that. So what I'm going to be doing on a time lapse is I will blend up some of these colours. I've also got alizarin crimson, which is lovely and transparent, and French ultramarine. There's some burnt umber and some white, less transparent, but still useful. So you can mix them in. So I'll be mixing them in with some medium and just glazing over the top. And hopefully that will bring it very slightly darker, and I'll do the same on the hands. It is quite a bright light, so I still want to look caught in the light and consistent with this, but I don't want to look ill. Okay, wish me luck. So this is a quick time lapse. You can see I'm taking a very dilute version of the colours and just dabbing it on with a very soft brush, and I'm using a cloth to wipe out the areas where I want it even thinner. It's also really good for things like woodwork. So once I'd done the hands, I moved on to enrich the wood. Glazing is so good for working round a painting, just drawing some things out. There's little areas where if you want the colour to be richer, they're putting a little bit more on the bin, a bit on the glass and plastic on those shelves, some on the trunk and under the table, just kind of knocking it back, but also making it less chalky, using the cloth to make it less drastic too. Really nice for just pulling and pushing. Right, so that worked a treat. So in terms of glazing, I ended up, it was going so well. So there's, hopefully you can see that in daylight. It's looks very orange on my camera, but it's actually just about my flesh colour there. So yeah, so that's fine. That's the expression I wanted. Hands look much less like the hands on a corpse. There's my ankle, and then because the glazing was working, I've gone over, these are bits of glass, so just to give them a little bit more, I don't know if it'll work. Put a bit on here. I knocked some of this back, and I also brought the wood. The wood has got a little bit more of a luster on it, so I'm very happy with that. Put a tiny bit of blue in the hair on a glaze. And so now I'm just going to go in with a very fine brush and just slightly tidy up those features, hopefully not in a catastrophic way. Here it is after those tidying ups. It's not perfect, but it survived the flip test, which I often do to check proportions and alignment. Right, so I think we're just about there. That glazing has worked. There's one or two last things I want to put in, but there was an unsightly bag here. So I moved the bag, But I do quite like these little bits on the floor because they're a truth about the studio. So I'm going to put those in. So I'm mixing those colours up here. We've got there's like a warmy brown. It's nice to be able to do the last bit from life. So I'll do the upper side first. It's there. It's just like almost one sweep. And it kind of goes behind, the way I'm looking at it, it goes behind the bin. A little bit of cardboard. And that's very transparent because I've got transparent paint, so I might mix in a bit of white to opaquify it. Let's get that there, that's better. Looking at the, I might need to get that angle a little bit more. Okay, so there they are, and here they are on the floor. So going right back to the beginning, here's the original reference photo, here's a thumbnail. Here is the first underpainting in burnt umber, then this is blocking in, first oil. There's further down the path, and then here's the finished painting.